AFR On Demand is brought to you by Breck Golf. Try Beaver Creek today, just 20 minutes from downtown Baton Rouge in the Zachary area. They've got a PGA Tour driving range, a short game practice area, 30 to 40-yard practice shots. It's a great place to chip and putt and practice if you don't have time for a full round. Book your tee time today, golf.breck.org, golf.breck.org.
Matt Moscona.
I'm very important.
After further review.
Say it one more time.
After further review with Matt Moscona.
And here we go.
Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio.
Let's rock! Go!
Hour 3, off we go. Welcome aboard. Glad you're with us, AFR. Powered by Sunshine, your hometown John Deere dealer in Louisiana. I'm Matt.
Love you, Matt.
Paul O'Neill.
They're chanting Paul O'Neill's name.
Yes, sir. And Mr. Toby Tom Blake. All right, we're here. Glad you are as well. 5 o'clock quitting time. Glad you're driving home with us. Scott Shanle, former St. Great, 13 minutes from right now. Shea Dixon was here last hour. Johnny Avello, the director of sportsbook operations for DraftKings, was here in hour number 1. Talked a little LSU Clemson from the handicapping side of it. Clemson, 3.5-point favorite. Said they opened it at 3. It's gone up to 3.5. So the total has gone from 56.5 to 57.5, and wouldn't be surprised if that climbs a little further. It was interesting. If you missed the conversation, go back and check it out. But he said, basically, this was a neutral site game. This would effectively be a pick'em. Say that Clemson, did he say Clemson gets 4 points? Didn't he say they were getting 4 points for the home field advantage, if I'm not mistaken? It was something like that.
That's what he said.
Yeah. Typically in the NFL, he said home field advantage 3 points. In this game, it's 4. So LSU might even be a slight favorite if it was a neutral site, or certainly would be favored if the game was in Baton Rouge. So just something to consider. It's one of the things I've talked about a lot with this game as we move throughout the entire offseason. If it was anything else than a true road game in the season opener. I mean, I even think back to 2019, and I don't want to be blasphemous here because I'm not saying this is 2019. I don't think we'll ever see that again. But you played Texas on the road in week 2. You had that first game against Georgia State or one of the Georgias, the Georgia S, directional Georgia. And, Burrow threw for 5 touchdowns or whatever it was, and we all went, all right, it was pretty good. And went on the road and played a really tough game against Texas and converted 3rd and 17, and after that game, off they went. But what if that was a true road game in week 1? How different might that result have been different? I don't know. It's the thing that keeps giving me pause about this game, because I think by the time we get to the end of November, LSU will be a dramatically better team than Clemson by the time this regular season's over, and would not mind seeing a rematch somewhere down the road. Brian Kelly was a guest Monday on the Finebaum Show. Ever since Brian Kelly took the LSU job, he's done this weekly hit on the Finebaum Show. And I don't quite know why. And I don't mean that in any way to be a knock on Paul. I know everyone does the Powell stuff. I have tremendous professional and personal respect for Paul. He's been very kind to me over the many years that I've been covering the league and going to media days and been a guest on his show. He's come on this show. That's not a Powell thing. It's just it's more of a, I don't know why the LSU coach feels the need to go on the Finebaum Show every week. Clearly he has his reasons. It's fine. I think access is great. But it was interesting. They covered a lot of ground, but the one thing that maybe was the most interesting to me was, and I'll tell you why, because I had a conversation with a coworker today that sort of ties this together. But Brian Kelly was asked by Finebaum sort of about his authenticity, and you think back to how the family thing, and you're dancing with the recruit on the spinning camera thing when he was new here, and pounding the table last year after they lost to USC. And no matter what he does, it's almost like a damned if you do, damned if you don't. I on my text line yesterday, I had someone message me and say, man, Brian Kelly seems uptight, seems nervous and tight. I was like, he literally walked into the press conference and was cracking jokes about the fact that he was wearing a suit and none of us were. He pointed at me specifically. He was like, Matt, this is the best you got? I mean, I was wearing a golf shirt and jeans. It was tucked in, by the way. And I held up I was wearing Jordans. I held up my patent leather Jordans. And he's like, see, the guys would like you if you go watch it. That was then he made the seatbelt interaction. Like, he was cracking jokes. Seemed very normal to me. So I made the comment, man, he was cracking jokes. And the response was, yeah, well, you get to crack jokes when you win. He's not taking it seriously enough. I'm like, wait, which is it? I think that's just the prism through which a lot of people view Brian Kelly. And it's almost like a politician. When you've been around for 20, 30 years in politics, or some cases longer, there's no fence sitters. Everyone's made up their mind about you, if they like you or don't like you. There's no swing vote any longer. You know what I mean? When you've been around that long. And Brian Kelly's been a head coach for this. He's said it many times. This is his 34th year. And he's been in high-profile positions for a decade at Notre Dame and now at LSU. And for better or worse, people have made up their minds about Brian Kelly. And it would take something significant to change their stance. The significant thing would be winning a national championship if he can climb that mountain. It's the singular reason why he's here. We say it often, why so many veteran coaches continue to leave the profession because they don't want to deal with revenue share. They don't want to deal with NIL and all the things that go in with the college game. Now, the reason I think that Brian Kelly's still here is not because he wants to deal with that stuff. It's because he wants to win a national championship. It's the one box on his career resume that he has not checked. And so he's got a great opportunity to do it here and with this team. But anyway, all that to say, Finebaum asked Kelly about his authenticity, and this is what Brian Kelly said.
Look, I can't think in those terms, Paul. Like, I can't think like with the cameras on me, let me come up with something witty. I have a hard time pronouncing anyways. First time I got out in front of the team, it sounded like I had a Southern accent. So when you're a Boston guy who's been in the Midwest and you come down to the South, to me, the one thing that's great about being in the South, people are authentic. They are who they are. And I think that's who I am. That's my background. And I'm not liked by a lot of people because of that. But at least at the end of the day, I can walk away and know who I am. And there's no anything else but that's who he is. And you can like him, you can hate him, whatever.
I may, it was interesting. I may ask Chris Marler to write a piece on that over at LouisianaSports.net. And if you're not familiar, we hired Chris a year ago to manage our social media, and he's also our SEC writer at LouisianaSports.net. Like Hunt is our primary LSU writer. Ross Jackson does a great job with our Saints content. And Chris is our SEC guy. He worked for Saturday Down South prior, lived in Atlanta, and now recently has moved to Baton Rouge. So just a month ago moved to Baton Rouge after working remotely for a year. And so he's been at all the practices, all the media availability we have with Brian Kelly and Sloan and Baker, all the stuff. He's been at all the stuff. And I was sitting in Chris's office earlier today. We were talking, and we were talking about that specifically, the authenticity thing. And he's like, I don't want to put words in his mouth, but he was saying it was strange because it's like, Kelly seems like a really this was him relating. He was like, seems like a really likable guy. I was like, it's interesting, right? Considering what the perception is. And so we were having this conversation, and I think sometimes, not sometimes, it's very common actually, that narratives get crafted about people in the public eye based on whatever evidence might be presented. Like I will, if you put me on a lie detector today and say, Matt, do you believe Brian Kelly was faking a Southern accent at that basketball game? I would swear on a stack of Bibles, put me on a lie detector. I do not think that man was trying to fake a Southern accent. I know the world believes that, but I think he just tripped his words, and I've listened to every man that every word that man has spoken into a microphone since he got hired at LSU. And he's got a weird diction. And I think he just elongated a syllable. That's all. I don't think he was trying to be Southern. But the internets can be pretty hilarious at times. So they've taken it and run. And that's just fed into the narrative. I often say that people look for, it's confirmation bias. When you've made up your mind about a person, a thing, an idea, you look for things to confirm. And then you ignore things that disconfirm that idea. The thing with Kelly, for me, is when he got hired, I had no real strong opinion on Brian Kelly. I certainly was very aware of Brian Kelly, the coach. Had a great run at Notre Dame. I just thought he had the issue at Notre Dame every coach has at Notre Dame. Until they were willing to relax the admission standards for football, you would never build a roster 1 to 85 good enough to win a national championship. And you could say, well, look at last year. They played for one. Yeah, and they got their ass kicked. And the same thing happened to Brian Kelly against Alabama and against Clemson when he got to a BCS championship game, when he got to the college football playoff. And it's just until they're willing at that place to relax admission standards to allow 85 guys in there that can compete against Bama and Clemson and LSU and Georgia. Like, they can get there if the path is right and things fall their way, but they're never going to win when they're there because they're going to run into Alabama, Georgia, Clemson, LSU, someone like that. So maybe that'll happen for Marcus Freeman. I don't know, but I guess I just understood, considering my history with Notre Dame and South Bend and being there and knowing a lot about that place, I just understood why he kept running into a brick wall. Because every coach at that place is going to, and until I've always said it's a Notre Dame problem. It wasn't a Brian Kelly problem. But I do admire the fact that someone covering the team and covering him, I do admire the fact that I think he is authentic. And he really doesn't seem to give a rip if people hate him, which allows him to keep doing the things that he does, the awful dad jokes that never really seem to land, and coaching the team the way he knows how. And we'll see if it's good enough this year. Because the bottom line is, it doesn't matter what anybody thinks about him, whether you love him, hate him, right, wrong, good, bad, Southern, Northeastern, Midwest. It just doesn't matter. You have to win. It's what I've said about Kelly since the day he was hired. People are still to this day, how does Brian Kelly fit? It doesn't matter. Skip Bertman was a Jewish guy from Miami. Dale Brown's from Minot, North Dakota. Nick Saban's from West Virginia, spent his whole career in the Midwest. Just win. It's the only thing anybody cares about here. I mean, just win. Just win, and people will love you. And this will be his best opportunity to do it. Got $18 million sunken in this roster. You better go win. All right, it's after further review. Scott Shanle is next. Stay here.
AFR.
We're brought to you by Clegg's Nursery with 4 locations in the greater Baton Rouge area. Sigourney Airline, LA-16 in Denham, Mid-City on Don Moore, and the Garden Center on Greenwell Springs. Buy local, shop local. All right, y'all. It's August 26th. I know this. We're getting close to deer season. Now, you will never find me in a deer stand, ever. I ain't waking up at the butt crack of dawn to go sit my behind in a stand, wait for Bambi to walk by so I can boom! But I very much endorse your right to do that and very much enjoy eating the fruits of your labor. So, if you need to lure that little fawn in, I'm like, can you shoot fawns? Is that those the babies or is that the female? I don't know. I don't know anything about deer. All I know, buck. At Clegg's, they got buck busters, they got mow bucks, they got deer corn, they got rice bran, they got all the things you need to fill those feeders and plots and all that stuff to bring on those deer. So buy local, shop local at Clegg's Nursery.
After further review, powered by Sunshine, your hometown John Deere dealer in Louisiana.
We always appreciate our friends over at Sunshine, sunnyquip.com, sunnyquip.com. Remember, the newest location coming soon on Pico in Baton Rouge. Sunshine, your hometown John Deere dealer in Louisiana. Former Saint Scott Shanle, good enough to join us for a couple of minutes. Scott, always appreciate it, man. How are you?
Hey, I'm doing good.
Hey, man, what is, maybe an obvious question, but what's a day like today in an NFL locker room like, cut down day?
Yeah, it's a little odd. I think there's a lot of young guys who are still kind of naive to the business, and you go through all off season, you go through training camp. There's 90 guys at camp to start off with, and then you have a few guys cut, and you don't really feel the business side of the game until right now, when that locker room gets cut drastically in half, and people you got to know over the past 5 or 6 months are no longer there, and you're moving on with those 53, and whoever those 53 guys are. There'll still be some shuffling. You know, if you're at the bottom of the roster, the last 3, 4, 5, 6 guys, nobody's really safe. But I think this is the first time where guys are like, okay, this is the business side of the game and how cutthroat it is.
Is there any day in particular that you remember a story of someone getting cut or something like that really comes to mind when you think about it?
Not in particular. I think every year, you know, as a veteran guy, you kind of look around and you kind of know. I think for the most part, the longer you play, the more you have a feeling of who's going to be on that 53-man roster. There's always a couple surprises here or there. Guys you're happy for, undrafted free agents, late-round picks who end up taking advantage of their opportunities. But nothing in particular that comes to mind as far as a specific story or anything.
Scott, the big news today outside of all the roster shuffling is that Kellen Moore did announce Spencer Rattler the starter. Reaction?
Yeah, I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised one bit. Anybody who watched the 3 preseason games, obviously, you would have to be at every practice to probably be surprised by this. Maybe Tyler was playing better than him at every practice. But when it comes to the games, I don't know if a rookie did enough to supplant a guy who has 5 or 6 games of experience. And I think that's really what it comes down to is, are you going to throw Tyler to the Wolves week 1, NFL speed, when he really didn't show that he's ready for it? I'm not saying Spencer. I think Spencer was kind of disappointing in the preseason, to be honest. I thought he had so many reps last year that a lot of fifth-round picks don't get, that I thought he would be a little further ahead, to be honest. But I think this is kind of the safe pick. You protect Tyler a little bit. But Spencer, he's got an opportunity to keep the rookie on the shelf. He has to go out there and play well.
Scott, how much do you think – because I agree with you, especially the experience that Rattler has. But when you invest the 40th overall pick, a lot of times coaches, organizations will maybe give the benefit of the doubt to the person they have more invested in. So with that considered, how much do you think that they weigh the fact that Shuck was the 40th pick of the draft?
I think it's a huge weight. And I think a little bit of it, when you look at it from that perspective, Tyler's been a little bit disappointing. When you look at it from that perspective, you're hoping that when you're drafted that high, he's 26 years old, he's been around a long time, not in the NFL, but maturity-wise, you're hoping as an organization that he would take hold of those reins against Spencer, but he just never did that yet. Now, maybe it'll come along, maybe it'll start to click, and he's just not ready. And I think that's one of the downsides to only doing 3 preseason games. Heck, I know people hate preseason, but back when you had 4 preseason games, there were a lot more reps. You had a lot more training camp reps. You know, I don't want to make an excuse for Tyler. I was hoping he would take those reins and be that guy. And I think a little bit is disappointing that he's not the week 1 starter. Do
you think that Tyler Shuck will start this year before the end of the season?
Oh, absolutely, no doubt. I think a better question would be, will he start before mid-October? I think the Saints really have to get out of the gate fast. I think Spencer has to play really well. I think Spencer has to play so well. Listen, Kellen didn't pick Spencer. He inherited him. And so a lot of times when you get to pick your guy in the draft, Tyler's always going to be his guy. He's always going to get the benefit of the doubt. That doesn't mean that Spencer Rattler can't be the franchise quarterback all year, but he's going to have to play really well and not give them any excuse to yank him.
Scott Shanle is with us, former Saint linebacker. Speaking of, boys, really impressive from an untrained eye watching a guy like Danny Stutzman and honestly Jalen Ford, a lot of those young linebackers. Scott, what were your impressions in this preseason watching some of those young guys at the position you used to play?
No, I think you're right talking about that position because DeMario, every time we say DeMario's getting old, DeMario's old, he goes out and he has a 13-tackle game. That was all year last year. I'm like, is DeMario getting older? He only had 6 tackles last week, and then he goes and has a great game. I think, but eventually, listen, Father Time's going to come calling, and you need to see growth out of the young linebackers. I think seeing Ford get the interception in the preseason game, Stutzman, there were rave reviews out of camp. He's very active, and he was like that at Oklahoma. He was a tackling machine. He was a captain of their defense. He got everybody lined up, and he plays the game with energy. And I think if those young guys can come along and learn behind 2 really good veterans in Pete and DeMario, they have an opportunity to extend their career because everybody wants to come in and play. But for me, I was fortunate. I was a late-round pick, but I got to study guys like Dat Wynn. Dat Wynn changed the trajectory of my career because I got to watch him as a pro and see him study and see him diagnose plays. And if these young guys take advantage of having a guy like DeMario in front of them and Pete Werner, they will extend their career and hopefully become starters.
It certainly looks like the future of that position is is in good hands. Can't say the same about another former draft pick, Isaiah Foskey. Scott, it's just second-round pick. I mean, you expect those guys to be starters, and Isaiah Foskey over 2 years just could never find a way to make an impact on this team, and today he was cut. I don't think that's a great surprise, but if I asked you, what do you think went wrong with Foskey in New Orleans? Can you put your finger on it?
I think it just comes down to anytime a guy is the all-time sack leader in Notre Dame history, there's so much tradition and so many great players who have gone through there. You kind of think when you're going through your scouting that, hey, this guy should be able to play at the NFL level. It doesn't always correlate. And as odd as that sounds, I think sometimes scouts get caught up in guys going to bigger universities, being productive at those universities, and not really looking at their attributes and is their get off or is their bend going to be good enough to get around offensive tackles in the NFL? Because the tackles that these guys rush against in college are drastically different than the tackles they rush against in the NFL. And I just never saw the athleticism out of Isaiah that he needed to be a good pass rusher in the NFL. So I think it was just a misdiagnosis when it came to scouting, and he was drafted probably way too high.
Hey, Scott, before you go, we've also seen Mickey Loomis make a couple of trades here, and it may not feel like a big deal, but they added Devon Vele. They gave up a couple of future picks. They added today an offensive lineman that they got from Dallas, Asim Richards. They gave up a couple of 28 picks. How do you feel about trading future assets for guys on this year's Saints team when maybe I'm leading a little bit here, but I don't think there's tremendous expectation on this team, and you're giving up future assets for maybe to be marginally better on a team that's not expected to be very good. Just maybe if you would have thought on those decisions and what they're doing to acquire some of these assets.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm not a real big fan of it. Getting rid of assets to really, you're trading for really a lot of backup guys. Outside of Bailey at receiver, they're hoping he'll be a big part of the offense. He's really the only big-bodied receiver they have, and they felt like they needed that. But even that situation, you gave up a bunch of draft capital. You could have signed Amari Cooper to a one-year deal and got through this year. But I think the one thing that's hard to tell Mickey Loomis is that they're not going to win the season. I firmly believe people in that organization, they've won so much since 2006 that they believe every year that they can win. And sometimes those expectations aren't realistic. This year, the schedule is set up for them to win more games than I think people think they'll win. But a lot of it's going to come down when you put that much capital in the offensive line. They better play well. They better be a top 3 or 4 offensive line in the NFL. If they're not, you're going to struggle with the quarterback position and a lot of other things. So I'm not a fan of giving up that much draft capital for backup players.
Vegas has the win total over under 5.5. I'm not sure if some of you ever paid attention to when you play. What do you think about that number this year? Over under 5.5. If you think they're going to win more than people think.
You know what? I watch a game, I watch a series, and I'm like, oh man, I go under on that. Then I see somebody come in and do something. I'm like, then I look at the schedule, and I think the schedule is set up to win some games that Vegas probably isn't thinking they'll win. Early on, they have home games. The schedule is not real daunting. There's no Bills, or there is Bills. There's no Ravens, Chiefs, teams like that. So I think they can pull out a couple games. But especially in the NFC South, not the worst division to be in. But they got to stay healthy. That's been the biggest thing with this Saints team the past 4 years. I mean, you cannot win games by having as many starters they have in the training room all year.
Yeah. Last year was a brutal display of that, standard by which nobody should be judged because of all the injuries a year ago. We'll see how it all turns. Scott Shanle, former Saint Grade Super Bowl champ, good enough to spend a couple of minutes with us. Thanks as always, man.
Yep, no problem.
We appreciate it. It's After Further Review. We're brought to you by Relief Windows and ReliefWindows.com. I always tell you about their energy-efficient replacement windows, the beautiful entry doors, hardy plank, vinyl siding. They do it all. They do shutters as well. And I always say they do it better than anyone because at Relief Windows, they do windows, doors, siding, and shutters, but their real number one product is customer service. This is a review from Josh on Facebook who said, it was really refreshing to have a company stand behind their product and honor their warranty without having to jump through hoops. Top-notch customer service. I mention this often when I say true lifetime transferable warranty. A lot of companies can say they have a lifetime warranty. How long have those companies been around to know if they'll actually be around to honor that warranty if and when the time comes? You never have to worry about it with Relief Windows. So I say it all the time. You want to go shop? You want to go shop for cheaper windows? Sure. Someone will do it cheaper. But remember what your mama told you? You get what you pay for. And at Relief Windows, you get experience, quality, and service. Relief Windows and reliefwindows.com. All right, y'all, it is After Further Review. Glad you're hanging out with us here. What a day over at LSU. A landmark day, actually, for how Tiger Stadium will look, feel, and sound moving forward. Thought on that next. It's AFR.
AFR.
We're brought to you by the Watermark and the Renaissance. Watermark Downtown, Renaissance Southtown. Right there on Bluebonnet. A week from Friday. 1 week from Friday, the Renaissance Hotel is transformed into LSU football operations. That's right. The Friday before every home game, that's where the Tigers stay when they get off of campus because of all the hoopla of the tailgaters descending upon campus. They got to get them somewhere quiet and secluded. So where do they go? They go to Renaissance Baton Rouge. Sprawling hotel with tons of meeting space, enough to host the individual position group meetings. Their grand ballroom is where LSU has their team meals. The entire Renaissance is where LSU football moves into. So this football season, you want to stay where the Tigers stay? Got people coming in from out of town? Remind them about Renaissance Baton Rouge, right there on Bluebonnet near I-10, across from the Mall of Louisiana and Perkins Row. So you got shopping right there, easy access to I-10, and then downtown toward campus. It's Renaissance Baton Rouge. Remember, Watermark Downtown and Renaissance Baton Rouge.
After Further Review, powered by Sunshine, your hometown John Deere dealer in Louisiana.
One who really understands what gets me. She thinks my tractor's sexy. Well, she ain't in the car.
Jimmy Ott will be here in about 15 minutes from right now. We'll look forward to that conversation. Otter locks are posted at louisianasports.net. You want to go make your bets? You can. Inching closer to LSU and Clemson, but a week from Saturday will be LSU's home opener, and that is when LSU will debut a new voice of Tiger Stadium. As we learned, Dan Bornay retired this offseason. Last year, of course, Deacon Dan took a leave, and Bill Franquez, the longtime voice of Alec Box Stadium, pinch hit for Dan Bornay. And with Mr. Dan announcing his retirement this offseason, LSU is looking for a new voice of Tiger Stadium for the first time in more than 35 years thereabouts. And Dixon McMakin has been chosen. Tiger Rag was the first to report that at louisianasports.net. We reported it also this afternoon. LSU is yet to formally announce that. So we'll wait for a formal announcement from LSU. But this is done. And I'm excited. Listen, I think I told you this when Dan Bornay announced his retirement. I've known Dan Bornay almost my whole life, probably since I was 8 years old. I should say maybe like he's obviously a grown up when I was a child, but our families have been friends for a very long time, and he has always been immensely generous, gracious. He is the soundtrack to Tiger Stadium. When people my age think about every memory going into Tiger Stadium, that is what Tiger Stadium sounds like Dan Bornay. And my family moved to Baton Rouge in the summer of 1989 from New Orleans. I mean, we come up and go to games, but outside of just football, basketball regularly, and then, and of course, being in Tiger Stadium basically every Saturday. That is the soundtrack of my life and what Tiger Stadium sounds like. And that's going to change, and things change. And for me, for many, before me, if you're older, like you remember John Ferguson. I don't. People who might be even older remember J.C. Politz on the radio. I obviously don't. So things change and they evolve. And there's a generation of fans now that will not know Jim Hawthorne. They'll know Chris Blair as the voice of the Tigers. And that is the natural evolution. And so too will it be here with the voice of Tiger Stadium. And I'll tell you, knowing Dixon for a very long time, Dixon went to Catholic. He's a 2005 graduate, so he's 5 years younger than me. So he's 38, I guess. I love the fact that you've hired someone. And by the way, I do not know who else applied. Like, I know Bill Franquez filled in last year. I do not know if Bill wanted the job full time. I have no idea. I have not asked. I don't really know that it matters. I don't know how many people applied. But I do like the fact that at 38 years old, in theory, Dixon could do this for 30 years like Dan Bournay did. And for the next 3 decades or longer, there will be a familiar sound of Tiger Stadium. That's not to say that anybody who's older should be disqualified. I don't mean that. It's just to say Dixon is at a similar age now that Dan Bournay was when he got the job as the public address announcer in Tiger Stadium. So I do like that. The other thing, too, that I think a lot of people may not realize is Dixon has already been doing this for a long time. He has been the voice of Tiger Park, calling as the public address announcer at Tiger Park. He did. I'm pretty sure last season he did men's basketball home games while Dan Bournay was on leave. He's done volleyball. He's done beach volleyball at LSU. He's done soccer. He's done the last 2 spring games, or 2 of the last 3 spring games at Tiger Stadium. He's emceed like the coaches clinic and the championship celebration for gymnastics. Like, Dixon's already been in that world for the last 5 years, starting in 2021. Like I said, I've known Dixon for a long time, and not that any of you necessarily care about this, but there is an association. When I stopped calling Catholic high games on Friday nights after 2015, Dixon started on the broadcast a year later as the color analyst, and then in 2017 took over as the play-by-play guy, which he's done every year since. So 17 through 20, now going through 25, which I presume he'll continue to do. But I like the idea that, yeah, thank you. Sid Crocker was the voice of Tiger. John Ferguson was the radio broadcaster, is what I was saying. It was Polites, Ferguson, Hawthorne, then Blair. But Sid Crocker was the voice of Tiger Stadium before Dan Bournay. But the point being, you got a guy that went to LSU, that loves LSU, that is a super high energy guy, that I think is going to do a great job, that's already been doing public address at LSU in other sports you may not be aware of since 2021. So I think this is it's a great choice. It's a very natural flow and selection. And I love the fact that you're talking about a guy that is young enough to do this for potentially the next 30, 40 years, if he wants to do it and continues to do it, which would be awesome. So generations of LSU fans will get to hear a similar, familiar voice like my generation did with Dan Bournay, and prior to that with Sid Crocker, and then so on. So congrats to Dixon McMakin, the new voice of Tiger Stadium. He'll make his debut as the voice of Tiger Stadium a week from Saturday when LSU opens up at home against Louisiana Tech. It'll sound different. And change is not easy for people. I understand that. As human beings, we are inherently resistant to change. And that's okay. It's okay. But it's going to be okay. Dixon's going to do a great job. So we offer him our congratulations. I'm sure whenever LSU puts it out publicly, Dixon will do the media circuit. We'll look to have him on the show and talk a little bit about it. But I'm happy for him and excited to see what the future may hold there. All right, it's After Further Review. We're brought to you by the Williamson Eye Center, 924-2020, 924-2020, or WilliamsonEye.com. That's WilliamsonEye.com for the Williamson Eye Center. 2 things primarily. Number 1, I keep reminding you parents, if you haven't done it yet, make sure you bring your kids for their annual eye exam, okay? Start of the school year is a great benchmark to remind people, okay, start of the school year is a good time to make sure you do it. Like, bring your kid to the dentist if you haven't had their cleaning, their 6-month cleaning. Bring your kid to the eye doctor to get their eye exam, get their eyes checked. If they need contacts or glasses, if you need contacts or glasses, remember, Williamson Eye Center is a full-service optical shop. So it's eye care, eyewear, and eye surgery, so that you can get your contacts and glasses prescriptions filled there at the Williamson Eye Center as well. 8 locations all over Greater Baton Rouge, from Baton Rouge proper, Lutcher, Denham, Zachary, St. Francisville, all over. And, of course, number 2, if you want to ditch the contacts and glasses forever, the Williamson Eye Center has a refractive procedure for you. no matter your age or your refractive issue. You want to see perfectly without contacts or glasses, you can trust Dr. Blake Williamson. It's WilliamsonEye.com. That's WilliamsonEye.com for the Williamson Eye Center. 924-2020 or WilliamsonEye.com. All right, y'all, it's after further review. Jimmy will be here for Otter Locks in just a smidge. Man, we are really cranking toward the weekend, which I'm fired up about. By the way, Friday's show, we will be live at Don Juan Cigar Bar. That's a change this year that you're probably going to notice a little bit. There are going to be some Fridays where we're not in studio. Our Football Fridays will be live, for some of them, at Don Juan Cigar Bar in conjunction with great partners. So, for example, this Friday, we're live for Football Friday at Don Juan Cigar Bar, presented by Pinhook Bourbon. If you are not familiar, Pinhook Bourbon is outstanding. I would not recommend a whiskey if I did not think it was good. And Pinhook is outstanding. I love rye whiskey. You can find that rye for $30. It's as good a value that you'll find anywhere. If you love bourbon, the Pinhook Vertical, which we'll tell you more about. So on Friday at Don Juan, we'll have samples of Pinhook. They'll be making cocktails with Pinhook. You come learn more about Pinhook. Come hang out with us, watch the show, smoke a cigar, have a whiskey, have a cocktail, have a beer, whatever. You knock off early on a Friday. It's a Football Friday. If you're not making the trip to Clemson, come join us. Hang out with us Friday at Don Juan Cigar Bar, presented by Pinhook Bourbon. We're looking forward to that. Okay, y'all. Let's see. We'll get to Otter Locks to wrap up next. Is there anything else I've missed? That's so much stuff we didn't even get to, man. There's, Dabo met with reporters. Brian Kelly was on with Finebaum. So much talk about this LSU-Clemson game as we steamroll closer to Saturday as we dig in deeper. And last hour we talked more deeply about LSU's secondary, which, Clemson returns its top three receivers from a season ago. But I think LSU has dramatically upgraded its talent in the secondary. Chris Carrier was with us yesterday on the show, former LSU safety, who talked about the need for LSU, obviously, to be great at safety, to have great eye discipline, to help in run defense, and to know their checks. It's just going to be a massive way for how they might be able to defend against Cade Klubnik and these experienced, talented wide receivers. So nothing new for any of these guys who've been through the fires before. They got a big test coming up on Saturday night in Clemson, South Carolina. We're counting you down to it. All right, final break of the show. We'll come back. Jimmy will be here for Otter Locks. Don't you move. It's AFR.
AFR.
Get Gordon and get it done. Gordon McKernan Injury Attorneys. You've been injured in an accident. It's not your fault. Do what injured people in our state have done for 3 decades. Get Gordon and get it done. Of course, you can go to social media at Get Gordon, at Get Gordon, at Get Gordon on any of the social media platforms. And remember, the Gordon McKernan annual Billboard Design Competition is back. Oh, yeah. Get creative. Get cracking, get your billboard design in, and you could win up to $2,000 in prizes, a donation to a charity of your choice, courtesy of Gordon McKernan Injury Attorneys, and the opportunity to see your billboard all around town and be admired. Gordon McKernan Injury Attorneys, Gordon loves to have fun with the billboards, loves to include the community, so here's your chance. You go to getgordon.com/billboards, getgordon.com/billboards, or at getgordon on social media to get all the info. Get Gordon and get it done.
After further review, powered by Sunshine, your hometown John Deere dealer in Louisiana.
Down the stretch we come, final segment here on a Tuesday edition of AFR. We always appreciate our friends over at Sunshine, your hometown John Deere dealer in Louisiana. Great people. They're local. Been around forever. Of course, you know the drill. You want a Deere bunkie and below, you're going to Sunshine. Sunequip.com, sunequip.com. The newest location coming on Piku. Tailgate season's almost here, y'all. You need your generators. You need your fans for your tailgate area. All your power supplies, they got you at Sunshine, your hometown John Deere dealer in Louisiana. All right, one thing left to do. Let's find out what we're betting on tonight. It's time for Otter Locks.
Otter Locks.
All right, time to win some money.
Presented by Total Maintenance AC Repair. Same-day service means you will never sleep hot. 480-1000. We are Total Maintenance.
I think it's safe to say that I won the bet.
Otter, what up?
What's going on, brother? How you doing?
Fired up, man. We are inching closer, just 2 days from week 1, man. From Thursday to Monday, 5 straight days of just gorging on football, and I can't wait for it, man.
There you go.
What we got for
What
we got for an appetizer today?
We do have some appetizers. Let's start with a couple of teams that routed last night. We're going to get back on them tonight. Chris Bassett at home for Toronto. Toronto, you know how they are. They're trying to run away, but Boston keeps winning to try and hang in there. They're going against the Twins, one of the biggest disappointments this year. Can't lay that big number, so we're going to put them in a parlay with the Brewers. Cubbies have shown a little life, so the Brewers got to take care of business. They did last night as well. We think both of them will hold serve again at home against Minnesota and Arizona. So Milwaukee, Toronto, moneyline parlay plays plus 135.
Okay.
I'll get you an update on that right now.
I'm looking at plus 130.
130. Mm-hmm. Yeah, 130 went down some. All right, let's go to Atlanta. Former Florida Gator, Kyle Waldrop, first-round pick for the Florida Gators. He's already out to a 1-0 lead over Sandy Alcantara. We talked about Alcantara fading him. You know, the price is not worth it. The former Cy Young Award winners piled up the innings pitched, so he's run out of gas a little bit here. But Atlanta already up 1-0. We did submit that on the website. Minus 213 is not worth doing it right now.
Okay.
Dodgers tonight. Dodgers, we're not going to raise the run line. Kershaw has been really good as of late. Hunter Green, they beat last night. He had good stuff. But the Dodgers, in a battle for the NL West, they won. San Diego lost last night, so now they have a game lead. San Diego has a much more favorable schedule in the last month, so Dodgers need to put some ground between themselves and the Padres before we hit to September. Dodgers -1 is minus, I gave it to you earlier, like 136. -1,
Dodgers,
minus 136.
minus $1.36, yes.
And then San Diego tonight. San Diego hit 4 home runs, but it wasn't enough. One of the pickups they made before the trade deadline has blown up in their face, and that's Spence, the pitcher from the A's. He got bombed again last night at Seattle. Big dumper with his 50th for the Mariners. He's plus 130. Aaron Judge is even money right now for the AL MVP. By the way, Paul Skeens probably stood it up last night, even though he didn't pitch. Our guy gave up a 3-0 lead, gave up Sanchez, gave up 6 earned runs. He went from minus $5 to minus $50, pro. So 5-1 to 50-1. 5-1 to 50-1 for Skeens. It's all but sewn up for the NL Cy Young. Dylan Cease, we're going to go for him. He's been a little bit of a roller coaster ride. Castillo's been getting hit a little bit. He's got to get long in the tooth. We're going to take the Padres on the road here. Minus 106 earlier. It's minus 109 right now. So one parlay and 3 money line plays in baseball tonight.
Braves, Dodgers, Padres, and then the money line parlay with Toronto and Milwaukee. Where are you tomorrow?
We're at Modesto, near campus, getting ready for we'll be at Modesto tomorrow and walk-ons on Thursday. So getting ready. Campus life, man. You know, it's out of town, but still getting you ready for the regular season at Tiger Stadium.
All right. It's Live at Lunch with Jimmy and Charlie, and the Otterlocks are over at LouisianaSports.net. Thank you, Otter.
All right, good luck.
All right, same to you. We're brought to you by Rouse's, the official supermarket of the New Orleans Saints. Rouse's, helping you cover the spread all football season long. Rouses.com, Rouses.com. You having a game watch party this weekend for the Tigers and the Tigers? Rouse's can help. They got your beer, they got your booze, they got your wine, they got all your sandwich trays, your party trays, your platters, all your sides, fixins, chips, dips. You don't feel like cooking, Rouse's can handle all of it. Place your order at the deli. They got your sweets, your flowers for your centerpieces, for either your home gate, your tailgate. Rouse's is helping you cover the spread all year long. Rouses.com, Rouses.com. Rouse's, this feels like home. Hey, this is cool. If you missed it earlier today, we posted it up at LouisianaSports.net. There's a local sports apparel company called Legion. You might remember Joe Lawrence, former LSU football player, was, of course, a Major League Baseball player as well. Joe and several partners founded Legion, which first athlete offering they have are shoulder pads. And they signed a handful of local athletes as their first brand ambassadors, including Garrett Nussmeier. So we have this posted up at the website. It's a cool video and Nuss wearing the pads. It's Garrett Nussmeier Whit Weeks, by the way. Jacob Bradford, the freshman safety at LSU. Those are the 3 LSU players who are part of the Legion roster. Then also 5-star quarterback Elijah Haven of Dunham and 5-star safety Blaine Bradford are also doing NIL deals here as brand ambassadors for Legion. You want to read more about it, you can. But really cool concept. New shoulder pad entering the market. A Baton Rouge-based company. Obviously, Joe Lawrence's history with Marucci. Pretty good brand builder there. They got a great team there as well. And it was pretty cool to see that. So if you want to read more about it, it's all at louisianasports.net. There's under special sections, there's Lanyap. You can see a lot of that stuff there. That's not necessarily game or team related, but stuff like this. So Nuss, Witt out there doing NIL deals. All right, it's going to do it for us here today. Muse, Paulie, appreciate y'all. Remember, if y'all miss anything, AFR On Demand presented by Breck Golf. Book your tee time at golf.breck.org. Have a great night. We'll see you tomorrow at 3.
After further review.
Getting on down the road, let me remind you about Parish Restoration. Kill mold, remove odor. Go to parishrestoration.com, parishrestoration.com, parishrestoration.com. Y'all, this process is so easy. Have mold, think you might? If you've had water intrusion in your home, you probably have mold that you don't know about hidden in your walls. Let Parish Restoration come take a look. Their process is simple, it's efficient, and cost-effective. They'll come in, they can do your home in half a day. They'll spray their patented non-toxic dry fog. Patented, no one else can do it. Non-toxic, safe for pets, plants, family, all of it. And it's dry fog. Dry, meaning it can get on your furniture and your carpet and your walls. It's not going to ruin your books. It's not going to ruin anything. Matter of fact, it's going to clean. It's going to kill mold. It's going to sanitize your spaces, other harmful pathogens, and it's going to get rid of odor. You're going to go home into a clean-smelling home, office, vehicle. ParishRestoration.com.
Market.